Good morning to you all. Lovely Sunday morning, but I'm not going to spend too much time talking about the weather like normal, just becoming some kind of bizarre good weather reporter. The weather will tell its own story in the background, I'm fairly sure. Just double checking because it's a fairly quiet area, but every now and then I just get ambushed by someone coming towards me, and I think they're wondering what I'm doing, and haven't quite got to the point where I'm 100% comfortable with people seeing me recording, so I kind of come to the quietest area I can find to do it. So this weekend's chat with myself, and hopefully with some other people, is it's about leadership, and it's just following on from this week's posts. Hold on, you have to bear with me so that I can get across this expanse of water that's appeared. Oh, crikey. No, we're all good. No, you've been framed moments. So, yeah, if you follow me on any of the social media platforms, you might have seen that this week's theme was about leadership and just some reflections on my own experiences with leadership and what I think a leader looks like. And obviously that's a very deliberate, vague term, isn't it? Because the whole point is that leadership is not one thing. But I actually think that that's historically the approach that we've come at it from, is that we see that there's this one kind of almost archetypal leader, and in my mind, in my experience, we always seem to be leaning towards the big personality, sometimes the big person, the alpha, the shouty person, the speaking up, the also leading by example person. And I'm not here to tell you that this is all entirely wrong. I think there are definitely some very good aspects of leadership in amongst that, but it excludes a lot of people. So I think this is part of the reason why, one of many reasons why women have traditionally been excluded from leadership positions, because a lot of these archetypal leadership characteristics are associated with someone of the physical stature of a man, or the general kind of stereotypical attitude of a man, if you know what I mean. So, this is not a benign concept. But certainly when I was growing up, I was never the most confident child. It built a little bit when I played rugby, but I didn't really have any experience of leadership until I started playing rugby, pretty much. And even then, it was several years until I got to grips with what's actually quite a complicated sport in terms of rules and how you actually play it. And then you start to find your way into the sort of more leadershipy aspects of the game. So I was always playing in the forwards, so you tend to have a leader of the forwards, usually known as the pack leader. So I'm losing some dog bags out of my pocket. So remember, that was probably the first leadership role that I ever took up, and typically the pack leaders I had up to that point were those kind of people that I've just described: the big person, the big personality, shouty, alpha. None of the things that I really am, but you feel that pressure to play that role that you think you have to play, and it wasn't always the most comfortable experience, really, playing a role that you're not comfortable with. I'm definitely not an actor, and this is not a situation where really I would be looking to do any acting, so I think you're going to get the most genuine performances out of yourself when you're behaving in accordance with your own values and beliefs, and sort of playing to your own strengths, I guess, making the most out of your strengths rather than trying to just constantly work on your weaknesses. So yeah, I did the pack leader thing. I think I was even vice captain and maybe even captain for the odd game, but that was kind of in youth rugby. And on reflection, I tended to gravitate towards a more lead by example type approach, which I think is a bit more akin with how I am. So, if I speak, then it's usually because I've got something I want to say. I'm not going to just speak for the sake of it. I would prefer to, play the game intelligently, read the game, read people, make little tweaks and interventions where they needed to be made. And actually, I don't think that can be described as wrong. And it, certainly stood me in reasonable stead. So then when I came to my next experience of leadership, which was professionally as a doctor, I guess, so when you get to a certain level, particularly working in emergency medicine, when you hit kind of registrar level in old money, middle grade level, there's a certain element of leadership needed when you are the most senior responsible person in the department. For example, at night time when the consultant's at home, that kind of thing. So you're kind of almost forced into this leadership, this sort of leadership role, without really any preparation for it. I mean, it's slightly different now. I think there is a bit more out there in terms of getting people prepared for the role than there used to be, but certainly when I came through there was nothing really. Everything was role modelled. A lot of the role models were the people I just described before. They tended to be, not exclusively, but they tended to be the shouty alpha person, and that was the way to lead the department. And so there was several years of getting kind of feedback from people based on what they thought your leadership style should be, and unfortunately that was completely the opposite of what I felt comfortable doing. I was always worried that my style of leadership was a bit too passive, so I've always been careful just to try and kind of address that over time, and I think I've just accepted that I'm always going to be a work in progress from that point of view, but I have a way better understanding of what leadership is, what kind of leader I am, how I can try and get the most out of myself as a leader than I used to be. So I think it's just really important we reflect on that. What do we think leadership is? How do we demonstrate leadership that's in accordance with our own values and beliefs? How can we be a leader without pretending to be something that we're not, and doing it in a way that just does not sit well with you? Because I believe that if you do that, then it's not going to be an effective leadership style, no matter which role you're playing. So I'd be curious to hear your thoughts. Feel free to go back and read the stuff on leadership from this week and see if you've got anything to add to that on any of the social media platforms that I post on. Comment below the video, share it with people that you think might be interested, and I'll be really curious to hear your thoughts. I'll speak to you again soon.